The thing about dandelions is we all have some pretty strong emotions about them, one way or the other. Welcome back, casual gardeners. It's not even spring yet, but one thing I know for certainty is that almost everyone watching this video is going to have a moment in their garden when you're going to confront a dandelion. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to gird your loins and go out into your garden to wage war against the dandelions with fire and rage? Or are you going to have a more live and let live attitude? I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I hope I'm going to tell you something you don't already know. Did you know that there are at least 10 other plants that are commonly mistaken for dandelions? That's because dandelions belong to family Asteraceae, or the star or the sun family. And there are a lot of plants in family Asteraceae, and a lot of them can look pretty similar. Even your lettuce is going to start to look a little bit like a dandelion if you let it go to seed. We're just focusing on the actual dandelions, Taxacum officinale. It has broad leaves in a rosette pattern, a deep, deep taproot, bright yellow flowers, and those legendary puffball seed heads. Taxacum officinale is not a North American native. It was actually brought here on purpose by the European settlers. And they brought it here because they considered it too essential to live without it. For those European settlers, it wasn't a weed at all. It was food and it was medicine, and sometimes an alcoholic beverage. Dandelions can help build good soil. The mighty taproot of the dandelion can grow 6 to 18 inches deep and sometimes even deeper. If you have clay soil, and I do, you may appreciate how well that mighty taproot helps with soil compaction. Those dandelion roots can penetrate that rough clay soil and create channels for air and water. Dandelions are dynamic accumulators, and that's just nerd speak for plants that can reach down deep into the soil and draw up essential nutrients and minerals, making them available for the soil cycle again. If you have alkaline soil, again like I do, dynamic accumulators are going to help keep those nutrients present and active in the soil for longer. And that's just because the alkaline pH tends to react with primarily metals and make them less accessible for plants. If you're curious about the effects of pH on soil, I've actually done a big, long, kind of boring, very informative video on the subject. You should go find it. Dandelions flower early and prolifically. In the early spring, pollinators may struggle to find enough nectar and pollen to sustain them until the main bloom of the plants they rely on. Dandelions aren't ideal, but they can help bridge that gap as they wait for their native pollinator plants. Honeybees, native bees, early butterflies, and even hoverflies may rely on dandelions in the early spring where you live. Removing dandelions before they bloom will help prevent the dandelions spreading, but it could also be hurting your pollinators. Dandelions are edible and traditionally medicinal, although I don't necessarily agree with that last bit. Young leaves can be eaten as salad greens. You can eat the flowers in wines, fritters, and jellies. None of the old medicinal claims about dandelions are actually backed by science, but there are some pretty fantastic claims from oldie-timey medicine. They can help promote hair growth. They can cure dysentery. And if you have a problem with premature seeding, they're supposed to help that too. Again, none of these medical claims are backed up by science, so I do not support using dandelions instead of conventional medicine. Dandelions are an indicator plant. They show up where the soil needs help. You'll see them in nutrient-poor soils, compacted soils, disturbed soils, and areas with thin topsoil. Sometimes the dandelions aren't the problem. They're responding to the problem. Sometimes, rather than asking, how do I get rid of these dandelions, it could be better to ask, how do I discover and deal with the underlying problem that the dandelions are responding to? There are some legit reasons people hate dandelions. First and foremost, Lawn aesthetics. Lawns are traditionally a deep green, uniform square. Boring. Dandelions can interfere with your postage stamp aesthetics. They break visual uniformity, they can spread through the lawn, their flowers rise to different heights, so you don't get that even level that people are so obsessed with. So in a turf system, they are considered weeds because they interfere with the aesthetics of the turf. Reason number 2, seriously though, they are aggressive reseeders. Each puffball seed head can contain dozens to hundreds of seeds. The wind can carry those seeds throughout your garden and throughout your neighborhood. When you pull them up, if any part of the taproot remains, they could come back. So they're not just a weed for many people, they're a persistent and recurring weed. Reason number 3, people hate dandelions. They do compete in our vegetable beds. I don't usually stress out about dandelions in my lawn. I try to identify and resolve the underlying issues, and the dandelions just kind of fade away after, a considerable amount of time. But if I see a dandelion in my vegetable bed, I am going to pull it right away. Dandelions compete for space, nutrients, light, and water in the garden. I want all of those things for my precious, precious vegetables. I'm not a fan of dandelion wine or dandelion salad. I grow what I eat, and that's not dandelions, and dandelions are not allowed to get in my way. Since they are a broadleaf plant, dandelions can harbor aphids, fungal diseases, and other leaf-eating insects. Are they serving as a trap crop or a disease vector? That's debatable. You should all go debate that down in the comments. So, should you keep dandelions? What is it going to be? Are you going to crush your dandelion enemies, see them driven before you, and listen to the lamentations of their dandelion women? Or should you coexist with your dandelions like that New Age bumper sticker says? That'll probably depend on your goals. If you love your local critters and especially your pollinators, you might want to keep at least the flowers around. You can mow after flowering, but before seed set, to reduce the prevalence of reseeding. But we do want to keep in mind that dandelions will adapt to mowing and flower lower in the lawn, where your lawnmower doesn't always get all the flowers. If you have compacted soil, you might decide to let those mighty dandelion roots do a little work on it. As the soil structure improves, you should see other plants move in and kind of take over the system and crowd the dandelions out. If you want a pristine postage stamp of a yard, yeah, you're going to have to go kill some dandelions. Keep on top of it and try to get all of the roots. Make sure your lawn is fertilized and aerated so that your turf grows in nice and thick. Healthy turf is going to do a better job crowding out those invasive dandelions that you really don't want there. If you see them in your garden bed and you're not a fan of dandelion salad, you might want to pull them there too. Since dandelions are often actually a symptom rather than the cause of the problem, learning to recognize and deal with those underlying problems is going to go a lot further towards controlling dandelions than just spending hours and hours on your hands and knees pulling the buggers out. If you want fewer dandelions, raise the mowing height on your lawnmower to at least 3 or 4 inches. Make sure you're aerating compacted soil. Overseed your lawn in the fall, every fall. Having that fresh seed in there keeps your lawn nice and thick. Improve your drainage. If you've got like wet spots and dry spots in your lawn, those are places the dandelions are going to slip in. For your garden beds, mulch is your best bet. So the thing about dandelion seeds is that they need sunlight to germinate. They are a lot like their little relatives that I got over here, the lettuce. Without access to sunlight and without good soil contact, you won't get as many seedlings. Mulch does 2 things to prevent dandelions from rooting in your garden. Thing number 1, it reduces opportunities for soil contact because it forms a barrier between your soil and that seed that's settling on top of your garden bed. Thing number 2, if your seed makes its way down into the mulch, it's shaded. Without that sunlight to help the seed germinate, it's a lot less likely to do so. So mulch is a perfect 1-2 punch for dandelion seedlings. Additionally, mulching your garden beds regularly is going to keep your soil more moist and more loose, and it will make it easier for you to pull any dandelions that do manage to take root. If you want to enjoy some of the benefits of dandelions without, giving your yard over to the dandelions, you do have some options there. You can allow early flowering for your pollinators. Just get out there and remove the flower heads before they can set seeds. Do not put dandelion roots in your compost pile or anywhere else they could re-root. You will get dandelions there. Because dandelions are dynamic accumulators, their leaves can be really rich in nutrients. So if you want to compost the dandelion leaves or maybe mulch your garden beds with them, that is a really great kind of green manure for your garden. Let that mighty, mighty dandelion root go to work in your favor. I do get dandelions in my lawn, but not a ton of them. So I'm able to get away with just being a casual gardener and doing the coexist bumper sticker method. Dandelions are an interesting problem. They're weeds, but they're also pretty useful. I think it's up to every gardener to decide whether you think they're good or bad and what you need to do about it. Are you team eradicate or team coexist? Let me know down in the comments. Have a nice fight about it. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel on your way out. Thank you so much for joining me here in my garden today. I hope you have a wonderful time in your own garden.